Hello, Mixtresses and Mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress video. I don't know. This is going to be a chat, I guess. It may be the last video that I post for a month because the plan is to take the rest of the year sort of off the internet. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah. I have been thinking about, or you know what? Okay, I'm going to try to be quiet while I'm doing my sort of entry stuff that I want to do here. Also sort of preparing for a ritual that I'm going to be doing off camera. Let's tuck that into this little cove back there. Okay. So I've been thinking the last week, and it seemed terribly important for like days. This has seemed like a terribly important topic to share. However, I woke up today, which is the day I was planning to record this video, and I don't know how important it actually is. And I don't actually know that I have anything to say other than just a general question and a general intention for my life going forward. I am sort of in this space right now that a lot of you might be in as well, of kind of, thinking about like what are my plans for 2024? Am I going to get a planner? What type of planner do I want? Do I have a word of the year? What's my card of the year for next year? Am I going to do a year ahead spread? If so, when? We just had the full moon in Gemini last night as I record this. And I feel very called to put a video out today. And it does feel like it has a little bit of finality to it, as far as like, this may be the last video that I post for 2023. I mean, maybe not, maybe I'll decide that I have something else I want to say. I'm trying not to make as many definitive statements because definitive statements never work for me. I always end up doing something in the moment anyway. So that kind of leads me into the way that I have been. Let me just say, like, sort of the thesis statement of this video, which is probably the title of the video anyway. But I've been thinking about the over-examined life. And I think a lot of people like me, people like us, likely you watching, we're drawn to things like tarot and also maybe even like planners, journals, the witchy community, etc. We're drawn to these things in part because we get something out of having an examined life, right? But when does it go too far? When are we pulling cards too often? Because if we're going to, any old school tarot readers will tell you, if you're going to the tarot over and over and over again about the same subjects, there's something wrong. When is it like, I was talking to a friend and it made me think of this. So this is partially her idea, partially my idea, but when is it like, okay, you keep buying planners because you think you need to find a better organizational system because you feel overwhelmed by your housework, when maybe you have a couple of able-bodied children and a spouse in your life. That, when is it like you're going to the cards, you're trying to over-organize your life, you're trying to over-schedule yourself to try to fix things, when maybe you just need to have a family meeting? When do we take it out of the spiritual, ethereal spaces and bring it into the physical? And of course, the spiritual, ethereal can be a part of the physical, but you have to have both. You can't do a spell. A spell is not going to work unless you're also putting in the work in your own life. You can't do a spell to get a job unless you are also filling out applications, right? So I think that this is something that has happened sort of naturally because of the way that society has evolved, I think. Especially because of the pandemic too. We all became, if we weren't already, chronically online. And now it's sort of like we've shifted our idea of community into online spaces. And that's not really 100% satisfying, right? That's not the same as actually seeing people in person. That's not the same as experiencing life. Looking at cards is not the same as experiencing life. Obviously, right? But I just started thinking, I've been watching a lot of, and I would highly recommend this too, if you are a person that watches a shit ton of YouTube like I do, I would recommend going outside your subculture. So if you're here, you might be a part of the Tarot Tube subculture. I would recommend you branching out and looking at videos in other spaces, because what I have found in the last week alone, I've watched a couple of videos in the planner community, people that are really into planners, the synthesizer community, which is kind of where my Michael is. Things like music equipment, electronic music equipment primarily. I painted my nails, and then I'm just sitting with my hands out of the shot. I just need to artfully place my hands so that you can still see my nails. Anyway, that's not natural because I have to lean forward to do that. So whatever, you're not seeing my hands. I also watched some videos from the makeup community, and basically the algorithm, the almighty YouTube algorithm right now knows to show me really anything that has to do with overconsumption and consumerism and blah, blah, blah. One of my favorite subjects, right? And it seems like the same thing is happening to everyone right now. It's like we're all really overwhelmed and we would like to simplify our lives. We might also be in a lot of credit card debt because of all the things that we've bought whenever, you know, we had to stay inside and buy all our shit from home. And it's like we don't have to anymore, but we still are. And, you know, there's this loneliness. Well, also it's a very weird, like I wonder if there's ever been a time like this in history wherein people are simultaneously very overstimulated and very overwhelmed and very anxious, but also very fucking lonely at the same time. It's a lot. I kind of want her to be a little bit more visible. It's a lot. And part of that, if you are also a part of a space that has a propensity towards more self-reflection and more like sort of like any self-help related community, or like tarot, like planners, like, you know, any of these spaces that tend to hyperfixate on self-improvement, there's an extra layer on top of it, right? Where like we're being hypercritical of ourselves, you know? And so for me, like, how do I tie this all together? Let me look at my notes. When is it too much? So like, for example, like I watched a few planner related videos because I was trying to decide, like I went most of this year without a planner, and I was trying to incorporate the things that I use planners for, like just into my current journal, because I wanted everything to be in one book, but that didn't actually work out. So I've decided that I do want a planner actually. But so just as a visual, in 2022, I used a Hobonichi Weeks, and I really liked sort of the sensory experience of it. You know, it has this really soft cloth cover. It's very well made. The trying to make sure I'm not showing anything personal. The like Tomoe River paper it's really fun to touch, but I had to use, because I'm left-handed and I like a 0.7 millimeter pen, I couldn't use my favorite pen on this paper. So, and the format of it, it's like kind of like a checkbook size. It's like a little bit taller than a checkbook. You guys remember checkbooks? I write like 2 checks a year now. So anyway, I used this in 2022 and I bought one for 2023, but like a third of the way through the year, I decided I didn't want to do this anymore, because the thing with the Hobonichi, the way that I used it anyway, I was tracking like absolutely everything in my life. And I think it was beneficial for me to do that for a year, and to do that with certain things that you're trying to, like, for example, I tracked all of my online purchases in 2022. Let me see if I can find it, because this was like a year ago. So do I have a little marker for it? Oh, there's a table of contents. I forgot. Let me find it. Budget. Yeah. Okay, I actually don't really want to show you because some of it is kind of personal, but essentially, like, I guess it wouldn't be too personal to... Okay, yeah. I can show these pages because I mean, I'm not super secretive about my finances. So like, I was taking it month by month, writing down every single thing I bought and then how much money I spent at the end of the month. And then I would give myself a gold star if I stuck within my budget. I can't remember exactly what my budget was at the time, because it was a moving goalpost. It was like some months I would have more money than others because of like other incomes that I would get more income than expected in that particular month, so I got to use it. Anyway, so I was tracking every single fucking thing I bought on the internet, and I didn't give myself enough space because I needed like twice as much room, and I spent so much. But anyway, the point is, like, and you know, I'd never done anything like this before, this kind of planner situation. So at the beginning of the year, I was writing down how much YouTube I watched in a week. I was doing my daily card. I was writing down what decks I was using. I was writing down if I journaled or not in the day. I was tracking every single thing. So I knew I definitely, like, by the time I was a third of the way through this year, I knew I didn't want to do this. Not that I'm blaming the Hobonichi, but it's just like, this is not what I wanted. So I thought, okay, well, what I do okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, don't get into the weeds. Don't get into the weeds of what you specifically do with a planner and what you specifically do with a journal. But essentially, what I was noticing when I was looking at, you know, planner videos, trying to find reviews on planners that I was thinking about buying and stuff like that. And, you know, I got like a brief glimpse into the planner community and, you know, the different vocabulary that they use, the different things that that they are dealing with in their own spaces, and it resembled what we go through here. It's, you know, like a planner is a thing that you buy once a year, right? In my mind, it's like you buy one once a year, done. But consumerism has just infected every single possible area of your life, you know? So there's this term in the planner community of planner stacks, where like people buy like a handful of planners that they use for different purposes, and they talk about all the different purposes they use them for and stuff like that. And it, like, this is no judgment on that, except that for me personally, when I think about that, if I were doing that, that would be a red flag to me that I'm over analyzing my life, that I'm over examining my life. And I had a thought that, because I've been trying to decide since I decided I am going to get a planner this year, and I've ordered it, it's supposed to come today. And I've been thinking about, like, what do I actually want to use it for? What do I want to track? Because I do like to be able to look back at the end of the year and see, like, what books did I read this year? Like, what movies did I watch? Like, what were my favorite things this year? And I do like to try to, like, be mindful about my online spending too. So not necessarily that I need to track every single purchase, but, you know, so like, it's a delicate balancing act of, like, what do I need to keep track of and what do I not need to keep track of? So one of the conclusions that I came to is, so, you know, like reading challenges. This is another thing. I watched a video from like book YouTube as well. I've been kind of like dipping my toe into these different subcultures on the internet because for one, it's because I'm fascinated with humans. I'm fascinated with psychology. I'm fascinated with the way that people work and the way that people are thinking. And it's just like, I'm seeing the same thing everywhere right now. And it's just this this temptation to overdo everything. Like, no matter what it is, you can find a way to go way too far with it. And so anyway, this person was talking about, I would watch this video about like book YouTube or book talk or whatever. And they were talking about how there's all these haul videos of like people showing these giant stacks of books that they just bought. And then you never hear from them again on like, you know, did they read the book? Do they like the book? They're sitting in front of these shelves full of books. And are they enjoying reading them? And there's all these like videos on how to read more with tips like, you know, skim through passages like this, or, you know, listen to audiobooks on 1.5 speed, or blah, 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 blah. And it got me thinking about how, you know, for maybe a decade now or more, I have set reading challenges for myself. I started off doing it on Goodreads for many years, and then I switched to Storygraph a few years ago. And, you know, I always set my goal for reading at like 50 books for the year, 40 books for the year, something like that. And by the end of the year, I've readjusted that goalpost to like 25 or 30 books because I'm not going to hit my goal. And I just suddenly thought, why do I have a goal for reading? Reading has always been a priority to me. Like, I'm always reading a book, always. But sometimes it takes me 2 days to read a book, and sometimes it takes me 2 months to read a book, and it doesn't fucking matter because we're doing it for fun, right? I think that a lot of us, have gotten to this point where the things that we like in our lives are, you know, the things that we love, like reading tarot, reading books, watching movies. We have found a way to, what is it, gamify? Is that what they say? Gamify everything, and it's making it not fun anymore. It's kind of like, so I did have a Buffy podcast. Currently it's not available. It's like, it probably will be again, but I have to pay my server to get it back up, and I haven't done it, like whatever. So currently my Buffy podcast is not available, but I did an entire Buffy recap podcast where I recapped every episode from season 1 through season 7. And it, you know, it's just like an easy example to say that, like, watching Buffy became a chore to me, which is my favorite show. And I do like talking about it, and I am proud of that project, which is why I need to get it back out there. I just haven't done it yet. I stopped paying my server and all the episodes disappeared. I mean, they didn't literally disappear, like they still exist, but I just have to pay to make them available to others again. So I am proud of that project, and I'm glad that I did it, but by the end of the project, I knew that I never wanted to do anything like that again. And and some of this falls into like, you know, how many of this, including me, like, do I need to have a YouTube channel? Do I need to? It's gotten to the point where like, when I'm experiencing something in my life, I think, well, how am I going to talk about this on my channel? Or am I going to talk about this on my channel? How am I going to translate this so that it makes sense to someone other than just me? But I don't have to do that. So, yeah, I'm thinking about, you know, things like, what do I want? So I'm not going to have a reading challenge for myself anymore. I'm not going to set a goal. I may still keep track of the books that I read in Storygraph. I haven't decided if I'm still going to do that or not, or if I'm just going to have it as a section in my planner, like books read in 2024, and then it will just be a list, and I'll write it down when I finish a book, and that's it, you know, instead of having this arbitrary number of like, I need to read this many books in the year. Because I think I would just like overall, I want to simplify my life. I want to have more fun in my life. And I think if I am giving myself too many goals, especially when they're goals that don't really matter. Like, it doesn't fucking matter how many books you read in a year as long as you're enjoying what you're reading. You know, we get in these modes of feeling obligated to do things that we are absolutely not obligated to do at all. Life is supposed to be fun, right? Okay. Let me look at my notes again. Yeah, I think I pretty much said all of that. It's just, you know, what I'm noticing when I'm watching videos, whether they be videos about tarot, videos about planners, videos about synthesizers, videos about makeup, books, whatever it is. And again, I would highly encourage you to seek outside what your algorithm is showing you, because you will see so many people's, I mean, that's what I'm finding anyway, so many people's experiences mirroring my own, mirroring, I can't say that word right now, my own experience from so many different corners of the internet. It's like so many people are talking about, you know, just feeling like they want to simplify their lives. They want to be less overstimulated, less anxious. They want, and underneath it all, even if they're not saying it, what I'm seeing and what I'm interpreting is they want more life, more fun, more spontaneity, more experiences. And so how can we take our propensity towards over-examination and put it to good use? You know, like when I'm thinking about my goals for 2024, I want them to be, what's the word? Malleable. I want them to be shapeshifters. I want those goals to be shapeshifters, because my priorities, like what I think my priorities are right now for 2024, they're going to change by like March, you know? And that's okay. Like, it's our lives and we're supposed to be having fun with them, right? So like if something turns out to be an arbitrary goal, like for example, let me see if I can find it quickly, but I had a goal in 2022. I was looking through this the other day. That's why I know about this. And I don't have a planner for 2023 to, you know, because I threw away my Hobonichi. I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had just stayed with it, like just stuck with what I had and tried to make it work. Where is this? I had like, it was a very, very, okay, here we go. Nothing really personal on this page, I don't think. No. So on Spotify, there's a playlist called Discover Weekly. A lot of you guys probably know about it. It's basically just like every Monday it updates. It's a totally new playlist, and it's suggestions for, it's algorithmic suggestions of things that you might like that you haven't listened to before on Spotify. And sometimes you can find some really cool shit listening to that playlist. So I had this goal at the beginning of 2022 that every week I would at least listen to my Discover Weekly playlist. Because I tend to not go outside my comfort zone when it comes to music. And so I was trying to do that. But I recognized by, looks like August, probably abandoning this goal, as I don't think I need to continue. So I allowed myself to pivot, at least when it comes to that, instead of feeling bad all year long that I wasn't doing this, because I tried to do it and I wasn't enjoying it, you know? And at the end of the day, it's so funny when you think about that shit. It's like, okay, I had this idea that I thought I wanted to do this thing, and we are reluctant to admit to ourselves when it's not actually working, right? I don't know, I just want to be more motivated by fun. You know, I'm an adult. No one's telling me I have to read 50 books a year. Why am I telling myself that I have to do that? Because if I don't end up doing it, then I feel bad. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And I mean, maybe, and obviously, like, different things work for different people. So if you're not in a guilt spiral when you set trackers and goals for yourself in your planner that you don't end up fulfilling, then, your mileage will vary, right? Of course. But for me, it's not a good thing to over-examine my life. And yeah, I just want to simplify, and I don't know ultimately if that means I'm going to be making less videos. Because yeah, that could be the case. What if I ultimately decide that just my experience on YouTube is part of the over-examined life, and I just don't want to do it anymore. Like, I want to be motivated by fun, like I said. So, like, if it's not fun, I don't want to fucking do it anymore. If I don't need to do it and it's not fun, like, obviously I need to do my taxes every year, and that's really not fun. But if I don't have to and it's not fun, then I'm done. And so I want the examination of self to be more focused on, am I enjoying this right now? No. Do I have to do it? No. Okay, I'm going to stop. Instead of, like, I don't know. I think that part of the way that we're learning to cope with the too-muchness of everything these days, I mean, it's all about control, right? Like, I think anybody that ends up in kind of an overconsumption spiral of buying way too many things, and it's because we're trying to control our lives in some way. I found that for me, that's definitely what it was. I was feeling out of control of my daily life, and so I was obsessively controlling all of my collections of things, which to a certain extent, that's something that I'm always going to do, and it's something that I enjoy doing. Like, I enjoy, like, just hanging out with my little tarot drawers and looking at all my decks and delighting in them and, deciding what to do with them if they're not working for me. And, like, I'm constantly reassessing my collections of things, and I probably always will do that. But there comes a tipping point with everything where it's like, this has become an obsession. How do I stop this? Or how do I at least dial it back so it's not at the tipping point anymore? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just this idea of the over-examined life. Are we, and it's that way with absolutely everything, like you decide you want to buy a new lipstick, which is something that I have been kind of nerding out about lipstick in the last week. And so you do all this research of, like, looking up swatches on Instagram and, like, YouTube or whatever, and, like, trying to decide what is the perfect whatever it is. And you're spending all this time trying to decide how you're going to feel about something, and it's so far removed. You're seeing everything through a veil when you're looking at it on the internet. Nothing is real on the internet. And it was just yesterday, like, just as an example, and this is something I've said things like this several times before, so that's another thing. It's like, if I'm just going to be repeating the same shit that I always say, like, why do I still have a channel? And a lot of people have fallen into that. I mean, there's some creators that I've subscribed to for many, many years that, like, now I click on their videos and it's like, they're saying the exact same shit that they said 5 years ago. And it's like, okay, I'm done. And that's fine. Like, they're doing their thing, they're making their money. New people are finding their channel. Like, it doesn't matter whether or not I'm done watching their channel, you know, because it's not about me. But I lost the thread of what I was talking about. Oh, so like the lipstick thing. You know, there's just such a huge difference between like obsessively looking up every single review, every single swatch online, whatever. Whereas yesterday I went to 3 different stores, 2 grocery stores, and 1 like drugstore, to look for a specific brand of lipstick that I wanted to try some of the shades. And I bought what looked interesting. It was cheap because it was grocery store makeup. And that was a more informative experience, going to 3 different locations in person, than the like hours I spent a couple days before on the internet. And I don't know about you guys, but like internet shopping is actually very frustrating. It's really overwhelming. You don't really know if you're going to like anything because, again, you're seeing it through a veil. Everything is like, it's got a thick, gauzy veil over it. And not just like as far as like, you know, not just as far as like looking for things to buy, but also just in general. It's like, you can't touch it. You can't interact with it. It's like you've got Vaseline over your eyes, you know? And I'm just kind of over not experiencing life. And experiencing life is scary at this point. You know, especially after the pandemic, I got used to spending all my time inside. I got used to only interacting with people online. And it is not an improvement. But it's hard to get back out there again. And one of the things I was starting to say earlier is like all of my overconsumption shit, over shopping on the internet, blah, 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 all of that stuff came as a result of me feeling like I needed to control my life, because I had gotten to this point where I just become really timid. Like, I stopped going anywhere. I stopped making decisions for like things in my daily life. I was just sort of crouched, metaphorically. I was sort of crouched in a ball, just waiting for days to be over, because I felt like I didn't have any control. And that's what was making me, that's what was leading me to overdivination, like pulling cards too often. And you don't have to pull cards every single day. I mean, I love playing with tarot as much as the next guy. I really love it. And I do usually pull cards every day. But it's okay, and it's probably even better for you to not do that. You know, if you think back to the most effective readings that you've had in your life, whether you've gotten them from a fortune teller in person, or you've given the reading to yourself, like the most impactful tarot readings of your life, I mean, I can count those most impactful readings on one hand. You know, you're not getting those if you're doing it every day. In fact, you're diluting the effectiveness of tarot if you're doing that shit every day. And especially if you're coming to tarot with the same issues all the time. And I mean, it depends on, like, your mileage may vary, of course, but that's how it's working for me. And it depends on what you're using tarot for also, right? But if you're obsessively pulling cards about the same issue over and over and over again, you got to take a look in the mirror and be like, okay, but what can I do to actually affect, you know, the most effective tarot readings in your life? You know, for me anyway, it's because I got a prediction that came true, or I got an assessment of my situation that led me to making important decisions in my life. You know, it's not just about thinking about things. It's, you know, we've been stuck in this realm of thought. And that's what the internet is, right? We're stuck in this realm of thought, and we're disconnecting, and we have been very disconnected from our bodies, disconnected from the experience of life. And I think also, you know, the idea of the over-examined life, like the thing about self-reflection, ideally, is that you are having experiences and then you're reflecting on it, instead of just constantly reflecting and trying to plan everything out before you take a step in the world. Like, that's not how you're gonna get the experiences. That's not the fool's journey. The fool's journey is take a step, assess it later. The fool's journey is fuck around and find out. And in order for me to live that as a life philosophy, I'm gonna need a lot less time online. And I've known that for a while, but I can't fucking quit it. I keep trying to get off YouTube and stop watching it so goddamn much. But I spend hours a day watching YouTube. And, you know, I've been slowly incorporating healthier practices into my life. Like, I'm starting to eat healthier. I've been going on morning walks every day as long as time and weather permits. And just that simple of a thing, going on a morning walk, has completely changed my life. It is the most important thing that I'm doing with my life right now, you know? And it's such a little thing, but it's feet on the ground, you know? It's being in the world, and that's what's important. So I've spent many, many years sitting around thinking about and talking about living in the world, and haven't actually been doing it. I haven't actually been doing it. So yeah, that's the goal. I actually picked a word of the year for 2024. And I took an old Oracle deck, or not, it's not old. I haven't had it that long actually, but I like the art, but I didn't like anything else about this particular Oracle deck, Modern Nirvana Oracle. So I took a card and that I thought represented the word of the year that I chose, and then I got my label maker tape out and I labeled the card, and I'm gazing at it right now. And yeah, I think it's just, if we're going to have an examined life, we might need to take the things about our life that we're examining and distill it into an idea that we can keep in our minds. What is this concept? I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember the author, Mitch something. God damn it. Dolores, if you're watching this video, put the name of this book in the comments and I'll pin it. But it's like a self-help book from this punk guy that is like essentially like the biggest piece of advice that he had for living your life is you find one chief aim. I think that's what he called it, was a chief aim or a chief purpose, something like that. A primary purpose of your life, or a primary, like, you know, distilling it down to one mission statement of your life, essentially. And make sure that all of your goals are in line with that one mission statement. That is so much easier to keep track of than like having 25 goals that you want to follow in a year. And that's always been my issue with, like, every year I have like 10 or 15 goals, main goals that I want to fulfill during the year, blah, blah, blah. But by like fucking February, I can't remember what they all are anymore, you know? So yeah, all of that is just to say I'm trying to keep it simple in my life. And when I'm deciding what to put in my planner for the year, I am going to try to be motivated by the world, be motivated by actually being in the world instead of being online. You know, I don't need others, I don't need strangers to validate my existence. And in fact, I don't want strangers to tell me who I am anymore. So what does that mean? I don't know what that means. But anyway, it's getting to that point where, like, if I keep talking, I'm just going to say the weirdest shit and y'all are going to hate me for it. So I'll stop here. Thank you guys for watching. If you've seen any of my videos ever, thank you. That makes this sound like a goodbye. It's not a fucking goodbye. I don't think, anyway. I am likely going to take a little bit of a break from all of it. Like, my plan is to spend what is it going to be? Tomorrow. So the 29th, November 29th through the end of the year, I'm hoping to be avoiding YouTube entirely. That's my hope. And that's going to be hard. That's going to be really hard for me because I have watched at least a video a day for like over a decade now. I mean, obviously there's been times that I haven't, like, you know, when I was doing like a no internet February or something. But I mean, it's just what I do. At the end of the day, I sit down in front of my computer and I watch some YouTube videos. Or on my breaks at work, I sit down and watch some YouTube videos. Or while I'm working, sometimes I'll put a video on while I'm shelving at the library. And I just think that I need a break from all of the noise associated with the internet. So anyway, I will stop talking now because apparently I'm just done. So bye.